Hello! Welcome back to the channel. I'm so happy to be here. Here we go again with another series of reaction videos to stunt fights that I'm currently calling Stuntman's Reaction. And it's kind of a play on words there. Yeah, so we're going to jump into some fight scenes. Here we go.
We don't need bigger knife. Yeah.
Okay, so far it's not bad. I think it's a little silly the way the guy was drawing his gun. So if you see here when he draws his firearm, so watch here. He's apparently doesn't keep it round chambers. He's chambering it now, and the way his arm moves felt a little too like this is so you have plenty of opportunity to get that kick out. So it seemed unnatural, not the way a professional would handle a firearm. The fighting seems pretty good. I'm seeing a trend with a lot of fights, especially more martial artsy type fights, is they're just gonna have move after move after move, boom, 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 boom. Hard to do it in a chair. They do a lot of that constantly, and there's too much going on sometimes. I feel like it's hard. It's hard to follow. But let's watch this again as we go through here. Takes the gun away. They both chase after it, and so tackle, nice roll. And now here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Good job selling that. And now we get into the fancy kicks. Although that was a pretty good. Good execution of that fall. Yeah. At this point, though, why are you saying they're watching him? And why would you turn back to face the guy if you're going for the gun? And why are you walking to the gun? And where do you get the dirt from? Just grab a clump of grass, I suppose? They're always walking to get the gun instead of running to get the gun. Haven't you learned yet to not walk towards the gun when you're standing right next to a guy you just beat up, because he's always going to get up and go after you. Nice elbow. Okay, I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, as I've mentioned before, and I don't know what the fascination is with doing this style of armbar, where you have the left leg over the body and the right foot tucked under the ribs. It's a valid way to do an armbar, but you have less control. But you always see this in the movies. You never see the more secure version being used. They don't explain what the cards represent. I'm assuming the card that was given to him is to represent he's gonna die, because then he pulls the gun to shoot him. So I'm guessing it's like, here's the card of death, you've been given it, now you're gonna die. But I don't know what the ace represents. That hasn't been explained. So again, you've got these story ideas. Create a fight scene, and then you have to create a story to go with it, which is backwards. You should have the story and then come up with the fight scene based off of the story, not, here's our fight scene, now what kind of story can we put with it to kind of give it some context. There's no context to this. We don't know what they're fighting about, other than figure he must be getting hit. But why is he walking away with the card, not checking it yet, turning your back on someone that you know is an assassin? You obviously know what's going on with the cards. So the fact that you're walking away from this guy who's apparently a hitman, and then looking at the card and going, oh no, I'm about to be taken out, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then what the ace stands for at the end, is it saying you had an ace in the hole and that's what you could beat this guy? I'm not sure. Not be able to follow the storyline makes the fight scene moot. Well, let's take a look at another one. Okay, right off the bat, the level of the reaction does not match the level of intensity of the kick. So the kick was a very weak side kick, but his reaction was like he just got blasted by someone that's super strong. So watch this right here. He comes up, grabs the shoulder, he's gonna kick him. But look at how weak the kick is compared to how far he falls backwards. It doesn't add up because his leg is mostly extended by the time he's making contact. So we call a push kick. He barely taps him. See that there? So he's coming in. By the way, this guy's guy on the left's posture doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like if you're confronting a guy, that's like the worst posture you can have. So you see that right there. By the time his leg's almost fully extended, that's when his toes are touching, and he's kicking with the toes. So he's touching with the toes and then pushing slightly, as opposed to being loaded by the time you make contact. So whenever you're doing a push kick, and quite often in film we do push kicks, that's where if I'm going to be kicking here, I don't want to be fully extended and then touching, because then there's very little impact. But if I'm only partway extended, only partly extended here and then push through, that push has more. It'd be like if I'm kicking you or pushing you with my hand. If I'm here and then I'm pushing with my fingers this way, that's not going to do much, right? That's not going to do anything. If I'm contacting your body when my arm is still more or less, it's like halfway through the extension process, now I can extend with more power. So I'm coming in, I'm placing my hand, and then I'm pushing through the rest of the way, rather than placing and just flexing. And the second one, the one where my hand is partially extended by the time it's making contact, I can give more power to than if it's out here and I'm just doing that. You see the difference? This versus that, right? So that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing a lack of power in this kick. But he goes backwards like he just got kicked really hard, even though it doesn't look like it. And that one didn't make any sense right there, because you're not seeing the kick happen. You just hear a little thump. See, there he is throwing the kick, but we don't really see the kick happen. This guy's got parkour skills. That's not even the best. That's not even really good form for throwing a kick either. Is he trying to do like another push kick, like a straight kick, or is he supposed to be doing like a hook kick? Because it doesn't make a lot of sense that he would have that body positioning and have that impact. Yeah, that doesn't solve to me. And now he's doing the same thing. See, I need to let him throw 720 kicks. And then we just had a big jump in time. So you see that? So kick, he goes down, and now he's going to be here. Look at the positioning of the bodies. They're here, and all of a sudden he's over here. And I get it. This is a rough job. They're not trying to make it look amazing as far as like all the camera work is and the editing is concerned. I get that, but that's still very jarring. You should, do a different angle. Do a completely different angle if you need to cut and then come up again. Because he's here, and that's the same angle he's running into a kick, rather than changing the camera angle. It makes more sense to change camera angles if you need to reset or something like this, or go to a close-up of him getting up or something, rather than just going from this to that all of a sudden running in. It's just again disjointed. I'm not going to be too critical of them here and for that, because I know this is more of a really quick thrown together kind of a fight. But as a whole, if you're editing this for something bigger, you definitely want it to look better. You want to avoid those kind of editing or camera errors. Okay, everything about that was good up until the knee to the face. Now he's using his, as you can see right here, he's got good form with that kick. Hips are thrusting forward to bring that power in through the knee, and he's using his hand to block it. I'd say rather than using your hand to block it in order to protect your face, just stack it. Put your knee in front of the camera. Your knee comes up between the camera and the face. So if I was going to punch myself in the face, I would come up this way here, rather than coming here and have to block with my hand. Then you have that distance issue. But the other three kicks look really good. See his right hand? His right hand is there to stop it. He's got actually both hands there. Which, in a live show, sure, that helps you get the sound effect. But when you're doing it for camera and you're adding those sound effects in post, you don't need to do that. Just stack it. Because you can see the distance between the hand, between the face. This is as close as his hand gets. It's like a foot, or close to a foot away. which doesn't sell on camera. See, it doesn't sell. Choreography's pretty good. I think they can pick up the pace a tad. There's a fine line between too fast and too slow. If you're going too fast, you can't follow anything that's happening, and before the audience can figure out what's just happened, you're onto something else, and they're constantly playing catch-up. If you're going too slow, it feels like you don't know what you're doing, and you haven't rehearsed it much, and you're tentative and afraid. So it's finding the balance between the two to where it's not so fast that it's hard to follow, but it's not so slow that it seems like you're non-professional. They're definitely trying to show off their parkour skills. And did they just change camera angle, or did they change location entirely? They changed location, they changed outfits, right in the middle of a fight. I'm gonna guess they had to stop for some reason, and they had to come back and do this later. And for some reason they didn't want to stick to the same tops, so they're mismatched. Talk about major continuity issues. Now that was a much better kick right there. By the way, what's going on back here? Is this part of the group? They got their stuff just sitting here in the background. Sorry, I'm probably being too harsh because this is just kind of thrown together for fun, and they're not trying to make a legit movie out of it or anything. So I'm probably being too harsh. But this kick here is much better. This front push kick, way better job. Watch what he does here. So he's in much closer. As he's kicking, now he's got full extension, hips are rocking forward, so very good technique. But look at the difference. Look how bent his leg is by the time he's contacting. Compare that to earlier, where the guy was fully extended before his foot lands, and he's having to push his toes down in order to make it seem like a kick. This is totally better. He's already contacted and has still got his knee bent, which means that he can straighten his leg out entirely here, and it'll look so much better. There. I don't like the camera moving around to the side though, because then you lose all these punches. The body's in the way of the punches. You can't see that one at all. He's throwing a huge uppercut, and you can't even see the contact because of the camera's moving around to the other side. Stay to this side for that. By the way, that's one way you can break the 180. That's one way you can do it. So these guys are obviously parkour guys. They do a lot of tricking. They're more so free runners. My understanding is parkour is about moving efficiently from point A to point B, and free running is more about self-expression through movement. And so free running will have a lot more tricking. We'll have a lot more really cool flips and twists and things in the air and such, as opposed to just getting over or under or around an object. So these are probably free runners more so than parkour guys, or they like the tricking aspect more so, and they're using that in their stunt fights, which is very flashy. Looks good. Oh, that'd have been so much better if you slammed him, like just threw him off and so like you did a Hong Kong to the ground or something. That would look cool. That was a little underwhelming. He throws him off and he's already landing on his feet and then going down. If he could do a Hong Kong spin, I would have been super impressed. Good fall there. Okay, now these punches, to sell a punch like this, you need to go to the camera. If you go behind the camera, especially if his face is just going straight back, it doesn't sell. So a better option would be have the right arm come across so his hand is in between the camera and the face. That would sell way better, and then have the face moving to camera. That would look way better. Or shoot from over this guy, the guy in the green shirt, over his right shoulder, So we're stacking this way, so the punches are coming in this direction. That'll look more like a hit than what we're seeing here. And I just attribute that to not understanding camera angles. These guys are martial artists and parkour free running guys, but it seems like they're a little bit newer to filming stunts at least. Again, that's a huge throw off, but it's not motivated by anything. The way he shoves him would not have sent him that far. He would land about 2 feet away, not like 5 feet away. Wouldn't have that much power. Oh, now they're throwing on the pad. They're throwing on a gator back on his front, so he can do a full-on kick. He's gonna do a full-on kick here. So before they're doing push kicks, where you make contact with your leg bent, place the foot, then push all the way through to simulate a kick, but without it being super dangerous. Then you can do an actual kick where you make full contact without placing first. You just kick right through like you would normally break a board or something. But you don't want to do that unless you're wearing a pad of some kind. Now he's wearing a gator back for that. Okay, that was a pretty legit kick. You could argue you would need the pad for. That one probably too, actually. That was more of a push. Okay, that last kicking the hand is kind of silly. I think you could have done those without needing a pad. I was expecting more force in those kicks. But the level of force I saw in those kicks suggested that they could have done it without the pad and would have been just fine. Okay, that was very interesting. Not bad, but let's move on to another one. Wait, did they drop a Kali stick and it sounded like a baseball bat dropping? Hold on, I gotta go back and watch that again. That's a baseball bat. That is definitely the sound effect of a baseball bat being dropped. But then you look over here and what do you see? A Kali stick. A Kali stick would not sound like a baseball bat. Yeah, it's a Kali stick. For a second I thought it might be a staff. Given it looked like it was longer. Okay, I'm gonna make a guess. Given that it's the same people from other videos I've checked, there's probably gonna be a lot of insert shots, a lot of fast cuts so it's hard to see all the action, and potentially a lot of slow-mo. And breaking the 180. Wait, was that an insert already? Did they just go tighter on that? I think they went tighter on that already. So, her face is taking up about half the height of the frame. If you move it up, yeah, her face is taking up half the height of the frame. Yeah, they moved into an insert shot right off the bat, 18 seconds in, and they're already doing an insert shot of her getting hit in the face.
You need to concentrate.
I'm trying.
You're not trying hard enough. Miss, and you're dead.
Ooh, miss, and you're dead. So he's training her how to fight? Like she's his protege or something? Another insert shot. There you go, insert shot. And there's an example of where you don't have the stunt performer do the full fall, which is silly because that's what you're paid and trained to do, is to do these falls. And they just kind of broke it up. So you go here, he's doing all the fancy moves. He seems to like to get super complicated with the moves. So now he's going to throw her. And now she's going out of frame. And now she's just kind of jumping. She's probably landing on a pad, but she's going out of frame. We don't even see the full fall. And then And now she's facing the other direction. Which direction is she going? So right now, she's rolling, so she's rolling this way. So she'd be landing face first, and then roll to her right shoulder across her back to her left shoulder. But now we see her landing, and she appears to be rolling the opposite direction. It's such a short shot, though. Here's the problem again. He likes to go fast cuts, so you can't really follow what's happening. Which direction is she rolling here? She appears to be... Her body momentum's carrying her so that she'd be going this way. But when she lands, she's rotating the wrong direction. Yeah, totally the wrong direction. She should be rotating the opposite direction. This is where I say, when it comes to shooting and editing, and in this case it's more shooting than editing, you need to remember what direction characters are traveling so everything can match up. They forgot which direction she goes in the throw, and they just did it this way, and it's very confusing. And I couldn't understand a word she just said.
I need a break.
You don't get a break in real life.
This is just training.
It's not training, it's real life!
No, it's not. It's your life.
Almost called that one.
No weakness, just winning.
Fine.
Again.
Now she digs deep, and she finds it within herself to defeat him. Oh, we're going the whole Tai Chi thing now, huh? Oh, and he's... Okay, so here's one of those things where you oversell. I call it overselling. That's where it's like, okay, so here's where we gotta have... Here's where in the choreography we have her miss, where we have him throw a haymaker that she ducks under, and he misses, and he gets hit in the back or whatever. But it's a little too soon. It's a little too, here it is. I make it really obvious so you know when it's coming so you can avoid it. It looks silly because, one, it's a huge indicator to the other stunt performer, which they shouldn't need that. If you want to make it more dangerous looking, keep it more compact. Less warning time. Use vocalization to help signal when it's happening. But also, this guy's supposed to be training her in how to fight, and he's supposed to be really, really good. And he's doing all these tight moves, all this really, really compact actions, and out of the blue, he's throwing this huge, wide haymaker you can see coming from a mile away is uncharacteristic. One thing I haven't talked about at all when it comes to fight scenes is each character has their own specific style, and you have to have them stick with that style. I was stunt coordinating a series where I had to work with about a half dozen different characters who all had their own unique fight styles. One was more ground and pound, one was more heavy set, so he's more of a boxer, uses his weight, his size, and his fists. Another guy was more scrappy, and so therefore would be more of a combination of more MMA style, those kind of things. One guy was stouter, but not heavy, and so he tended to use more of a boxing style as well. But they all had their individual styles that they used, and so I tailored the moves to the character and the actor playing the character. And as much as I can, I keep them to that specific fighting style. So that way it makes sense and they're not going outside their character. Because if I had a guy who's a boxer, a heavyset guy, all his boxing stuff, all of a sudden throw a jumping, spinning hook kick out of nowhere. It's like, where'd that come from? He's never kicked once. He's been all boxing and almost judo style flipping people, and all of a sudden he's throwing a jumping, spinning hook kick. Where'd that come from? It's totally uncharacteristic, and it takes you out of it. So this guy doing all these really tight maneuvers that are some hints of boxing I see, also some more eskrima, trapping and stuff. all of a sudden he's throwing this drunk man haymaker out of nowhere is totally uncharacteristic. It's terrible to see from someone who's apparently a fight choreographer. It shows a lack of understanding. Yeah. I guess you could also argue that maybe he feels like he's losing the fight, so now he's getting more desperate and making bigger motions and kind of going more crazy. But if you're a really good martial artist and you have a level head, especially if you're like a mentor like he's supposed to be, you keep your composure a lot better. Another insert shot. Oh, they're doing a throw, and you see all the elements in the foreground here. So because of the elements in the foreground, there's got to be a mat there. He's landing on a mat, and they're hiding it with these elements in the foreground. Not sure what that was for. You break up the fall by showing the knife. Have him fall and land. Then if you want to do an insert shot of the knife as her pulling it out, sure. Why not? But not in the middle of a fall like that.
You cheated.
And that's all to that. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click that notification bell to be notified when more content comes out. And be sure, as always, to share with your friends. And I would appreciate that very much. Thank you, and we will see you soon. Bye.